G'day, it's James again and welcome back to PTSD Recovery TV. A few people have been getting back to me over the last couple of days about how successful their anger sessions have been with the video that explains how to get rid of anger. And the big thing is, the benefit for them is that they'll be able to go and re-engage with their family and their kids haven't triggered them again. And I just think that's absolutely sensational. Most of it has been by women, which is interesting, but really not for me. It doesn't surprise me at all. Quite regularly I find women are far more or far quicker to come out of the closet about what they want and how they want to get better and actually own up to the condition that they suffer. That's not saying anything about men, that's not judging men at all, it's just what naturally happens. Quite regularly men suffer from post-traumatic stress. They're in a culture, and especially in a work culture, which is not open to talking about this type of thing. And men in today's society, in our patriarchal society, we're meant to have the answers. We're meant to have, these shoulders are meant to be able to take all the burden of life. Well, I'm a bloke and I was brought up in a very conservative society and a conservative background. And it's one of the things, one of the reasons that set me up for what I suffered, post-traumatic stress. Because I believed that these shoulders had to have all the weight of responsibility for my whole family, for everything. I believed that this head had to have all the decisions, and I was meant to know everything. So it took me a long time to come out of the closet and go, hey, I need help. But what I can say, especially to the gents out there, is when you make that decision to find and put your front foot forward, take the initiative, the benefits are just so overwhelming. The reconnection you have with the loved ones around you, the control you get back about your life is just so overwhelming and so empowering. So I can't but recommend doing it. The other thing, I just want to talk a little bit more about anger, and that is, anger is not a bad emotion. None of the emotions are bad. It's what society has done for us is taken the consequences of the expression or poor expression of emotions, and also how we feel, whether or not we contract or whether or not we expand with the emotion, and then label these emotions. So anger, sadness, fear, guilt and shame are the 5 primary emotions that are labelled as negative. But anger is all about, my personal boundaries have been violated and I feel angry about that, so I need to vocalise it. So anger it's a very uplifting, and you probably know it yourself, it's a very powerful emotion. It's all about giving you the energy to speak up and defend yourself. Anger is also about your expectations of the world not being met. So it's giving you the energy to change the situation in some way, shape or form so that you reinstate yourself back into your environment. Anger is a great example of an emotion telling us about how we are perceiving or feeling our interaction with the environment. That said, when anger gets out of control, we know what happens. And unfortunately, violence, and you just have to watch the local news to see the amount of domestic violence that happens. Violence is the extreme output or the extreme consequence of poorly expressed anger. But the thing is, as I've talked in the tutorial, when you're taking anger out on that punching bag, no one's getting hurt. You are putting the anger into an inanimate object, something that won't get hurt, and your inner justice mechanism doesn't kick in. If you were to take that anger out on someone else, if you were to either verbally berate someone, get really harsh at someone, or physically take it out on someone, then your inner justice mechanism would kick in and guilt would be the response. So, people that have a tendency towards domestic violence, they're in this perpetual anger cycle and they can't get out of it until they break the cycle so that they don't inflict the anger back on the people that actually at a deeper level there's a connection with those people, and unfortunately those victims that they're in the way often and they just get bang. They get the abrupt nature or the hard end of anger. So unless that cycle is broken, and the best way to do it is to take a punching bag. Now some of you are probably saying, hey James, I can't hit a punching bag, it's not in me. Well, I'm going to ask you, is it better a punching bag and learning how to hit it than your family and your loved ones getting hurt? Now that's a question you're going to have to ask. But there are other ways to do it. Firstly, ladies, sometimes a punching bag's a bit hard for you. Wrap a doona around it is a great option. Or simply get some pillows or cushions off a sofa and hit it like that. Sometimes you don't want to hit with your wrists because you might feel that your wrists are too hard. Get a bat. Get a baseball bat or a cricket bat or something and take to it like that. Another great way of doing it is just getting out into the bush and screaming and stomping and physically exerting yourself through that. Remember, anger's all about expressing yourself. So when you're punching the punching bag, the cushions, or stomping out in the bush, it's really important that you vocalize and you scream and you let it out from right down here. You might initially feel a lot of tension around here, and that's because we often keep a lot of anger around our jaw. Again, it's about vocalizing yourself. So you need to loosen your jaw and really let it come up, really let that expression and that scream come up. And if someone needs a mouthful, if you need to like let loose at someone, they're obviously not in the space that you are. You can tell them, you can tell that punching bag what you think of it. It won't get hurt. And that's the big key thing. When you're expressing anger, the key rule is no one's allowed to be hurt, undermined, belittled or demeaned in any way, because otherwise your internal justice mechanism will kick in again and you'll end up right back where you were before. I trust that's been worth it. Congratulations to those people taking action. It's awesome to see. Love to see your comments as well, and I trust this video's been worth it. Remember, you can choose to be happy.